and go.
I'm here in downtown Portsmouth, New Hampshire today with Fred Karger, who's making your 12th visit to New Hampshire.
You got it.
Excellent. Excellent. So it seems like you were up to some interesting things yesterday. Where were you? What were you doing?
I was at the New Hampshire State House in Concord. I was testifying and observing a historic day. There's an effort underway to undo gay marriage in New Hampshire that's been running beautifully for the last 13 and a half months. Great economic boom to the state. A lot of people are coming here to get married. A lot of 1,300 happy couples have gotten married, but there's some people like the National Organization for Marriage who are determined to undermine that happiness. And so they were instrumental in overthrowing both houses of the legislature, and one of the things they went to bat for right away was to undo the marriage law. So I went there to talk about my experience with NOM and to also register my support that marriage continue.
Excellent. It sounds like you've been in the Granite State quite a few other times of late. What do you got up your sleeve?
Well, I came here 1 year ago, David, and it was a pretty scary time for me. I was seriously considering running, but I wanted to come up here and see how the reception was. And so I spoke at the University of New Hampshire, the Gay Straight Alliance. I went to Dartmouth the next night. I spoke to another dozen people over at UNH and Chambers. And I, at that time, particularly with my 2 meetings with the Gay Straight Alliances, decided I need to continue in this course. And I'm out as a gay man. If I do run for president, it would be a story. They used to have one. Has ever done so as an open
down on the water.
Party. If I run, I would run as an independent Republican. So I've come back now 11 more times over the last 12 months, and we've got a lot of people that are excited about this. I've hired 2 people in state, one who is here, Lee Hunter, another one with Dartmouth. We're going to have some more. I'm going to be in the March 31st straw poll at St. A's and looking for real estate. I'm trying to rent a house in Manchester to be here at least half time. And I want to participate in the state, and if I run, certainly be in the first primary.
Sounds great. What's the reception been like so far? Seems like at yesterday's hearing, the whole idea of the Republican Party being a big tent was on display. I was wondering what kind of things you've run into talking to Republicans around the state when it comes to gay marriage.
Well, the first trip I went and met with Andy Leach, who was the then executive director of the State Republican Party. Today we met with the new executive director. He's promised me a meeting with the chairman, the new chairman, Jack Kimball. I've gotten a very warm reception from everybody here. And I'm particularly focusing on the independent voters in New Hampshire, because 42% of all registered voters are independent, and they can vote in either primary. And my guess is that the president will not be challenged, so all the action is going to be on the Republican side of things. And if I run, it will be as a Republican. So I'm speaking to Republican groups. I'm speaking to student groups. I'm going anywhere where there are more than 4 or 5 people. I set up many town meetings. We had one just last month in Portsmouth, right here. Norm Petnow, also a professor of political science over at UNH, and had the Washington Post with me. Spent 3 days with us on the campaign tour. So it's been an exciting adventure. I've gotten a huge amount of attention. Actually, because of that Washington Post story, which was the first that ran about 3 weeks ago of any possible candidate in 2012, it got called The Observer. It got a big Sunday story, and that's the #1 paper in Great Britain, the oldest paper. Did a big profile of me, and then that triggered about 15 other international stories. I'm going to be on the BBC in 3 weeks, a show called Hard Talk, which is their version of Keeping Press. I interviewed Greece, Brazil, Spain, Austria. I was on Austrian radio yesterday. So there's a lot of fascination in what I'm doing. I'm very excited about it, and I'm very excited to spend a lot of time in the Granite State.
Very interesting. Seems like you get a lot of opportunity to travel and meet people as a presidential candidate, and hopeful at least. I think that you were also up in Dartmouth yesterday working on kind of a separate issue from the whole gay marriage thing. Did you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah. Well, when I was at Dartmouth last month, I spoke at the Rockefeller Center, sponsored by the College Republicans, and I proposed that we consider a 28th Amendment to the Constitution. And unlike George W. Bush, who wanted to take the 28th Amendment to take away rights from people and disallow marriage rights for many Americans, this would expand rights in different areas, expand voting rights. We discuss it, and I've gotten a lot of feedback already. Lowering the voting age to either 16 or 17. 10 million people per category, to the voter rolls. And we saw it yesterday in New Hampshire at the State House. Unbelievable amount of high school kids testifying. A 14-year-old kid gave the best testimony of them all that just got, rousing ovation. And so I want to consider opening that up. So what happened the day before I was announcing that at Dartmouth, there was a state house member who suggested the opposite, that rights be taken away from college students and active duty military, people who aren't full-time residents of New Hampshire but are here for 4 years or more, and not allow them to vote, because those votes are frivolous and they're not real residents. Well, I argued just the opposite. We should encourage college voting, we should encourage younger people, and even consider local voting. And so I spoke at a rally hosted last night. I was on WMUR, I was interviewed, was sponsored by the College Republicans, the College Democrats, and the College Libertarians. And it was the first time all three organizations had come together. There was a state senator testified, and also a former state rep who ran for Congress, and myself. It was a very inspiring day. I've been invited to the College Democrats at Dartmouth, which is of course unusual for somebody considering running for a Republican nomination. So it was a great day and night, and I'm very excited for my next trip.
Excellent. Sounds like you're really expanding on that Big Ten philosophy when it comes to people you're talking to out here in the state. Just one quick final question. You may know that New Hampshire's kind of been home to a pretty big libertarian movement, probably going back even before the Free State Project. We have that great state motto, live free or die, don't wear helmets when we ride motorcycles and things like that. How would you say that your positions on issues like gay marriage kind of mesh with that whole ideal of individual freedom and choice?
Well, I've always been, more of a centrist, much more of a libertarian, particularly on social issues. I had a great meeting with the #2 at the Cato Institute, which is the famous think tank, libertarian think tank in DC, and he kind of gave me a 75% grade. Not 100% libertarian, but yeah, we're in Portsmouth now, home of No Labels, which is a great new group. I'm very anxious to talk to the leadership of that, because that really defines me. There's a term called transpartisan, which is somewhat not bipartisan, even more so. Well, I supported Hillary Clinton at the 2008 election. I didn't support a Republican, which is unusual, but I didn't like the field that time. And I was a maxed out donor there. I'm a Republican for Lynch. I'd send him a nice contribution when he ran. And I think that the public, in New Hampshire particularly, but all over the country, is looking for somebody who's, of course, get along with people and who's not an extremist. And I think that fits me, Fred Karger. And so I'm going to continue along those lines. That's who I've always been. I've never held office. I'm an outsider, but I've worked on dozens of campaigns, including 9 presidential campaigns. So I'm just hoping, as I get to know New Hampshireites, that they'll take a serious look at me and consider me for the 2012 presidential primary finale.
Excellent. Well, it's been great talking to you.
David, thank you very much.
Feel free to come back and visit New Hampshire, especially Portsmouth anytime. I think we've got a few free houses for rent around here. So take a look.
I'm a little more central, but I'm here an awful lot. I pretty much come here every trip, and I love it. And it's
all right.
It's spring in Portsmouth today on February 18th.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And cut.